Welcome to Life Stories. Imagine building your whole life for the people you love, only to realize they've never truly seen you. You've sacrificed everything your time, your money, your energy, and yet they treat you like you don't matter. This is the story of Sarah, a woman who spent years fighting for her family's approval, only to find herself betrayed by the very ones she'd given everything to. When the truth finally comes to light, Sarah is forced to make a decision. Will she continue to give, or will she choose herself for the first time in her life? What happens when love becomes a burden and family becomes a prison? Stay with us until the end, because this story isn't just about betrayal. It's about reclaiming your worth, even when everyone else has forgotten it. Let's dive into Sarah's journey. Sarah Callahan had always prided herself on her independence. At 32 years old, she ran a small HVAC business that she had built from the ground up in Seattle. It wasn't glamorous, not by any stretch of the imagination. No high-rise office with a sweeping view of the city, no designer suits or fancy lunches. But it was hers. Every inch of it. Every long hour spent crawling into attics, fixing ducts, and enduring the harsh Seattle winters, she had earned it. Yet, despite her success, her family never truly saw her. They never truly understood her. Thanksgiving was always the same, a tradition that kept the family bond tethered, even when the threads between them began to fray. But this year, something shifted. The call came while she was driving home after a long day. The wind was picking up as the sky darkened, casting a chill across the city. Her mother's name flashed across the phone screen, and Sarah smiled, her heart lifting at the thought of spending the evening with family. It had been a good year for the business. Her employees had gotten their bonuses, and she'd even picked up a bottle of expensive red wine for the dinner. "Hey, Mom," Sarah answered, her voice light, as she navigated through the traffic. "I'm on my way home. Do you need me to bring anything this year? Apple pie? Mashed potatoes?" There was a long pause on the other end of the line. Sarah frowned, her grip on the steering wheel tightening. Something in her mother's silence was unsettling. "Sarah, there's something I need to tell you." Her mother's voice was shaky, almost apologetic. "I don't know how to say this, but maybe you shouldn't come to Thanksgiving this year." Her heart skipped. "What? Mom, what are you talking about?" "I know it's hard, but Mason's parents are coming. You know how they are. They're very traditional," her mother continued, her voice dipping into an apologetic tone. "Brittany feels, well, it's just that your job isn't quite what they would expect." Sarah's breath caught in her throat. She knew exactly what her mother meant. She had spent years building a successful business, sacrificing everything, vacations, personal time, sleep, all so she could ensure that her family was taken care of. And now, for the first time in her life, she felt like she was being told that wasn't enough. "You're saying I'm not welcome?" Her voice trembled, her grip on the phone tightening until her fingers ached. "No, Sarah, it's not like that. It's just—" Her mother faltered, as if searching for the right words. "Mason's family, they might look down on you. The work you do, it's just not what they consider respectable." The words hung in the air, suffocating her. Every ounce of her pride, every bit of her effort to be seen, to be valued by her family, was crushed in an instant. The silence between them grew long and cold. Sarah's eyes burned with unshed tears, but she refused to let them fall. "I paid for Brittany's tuition for 4 years. I worked overtime, skipped vacations just to make sure she never had to worry about money. And this is how you repay me?" she said, her voice barely a whisper. "I'm sorry," her mother replied softly. "It's just one evening, Sarah. We'll see each other soon, maybe for brunch. You'll understand, won't you?" But Sarah didn't answer. She hung up the phone, the emptiness inside her growing with every second that passed. The world outside seemed to blur as she drove, her mind reeling. She wasn't a stranger to sacrifice. But this was a betrayal too deep to ignore. Her own mother, the woman who had raised her, had just told her that her very existence was an embarrassment. The car's engine hummed in the background as Sarah sat in her parked car, the engine still running. The weight of the rejection pressed down on her chest. She could feel it, the unmistakable sting of betrayal. But what hurt the most wasn't just being told she wasn't good enough. It was the realization that her family had never seen her as more than a tool, a paycheck. An hour later, as she sat alone in her apartment, her phone buzzed again. A message from Madison, her cousin, appeared on the screen. Sarah opened it with trembling fingers. "I thought you should know," the text read. "Brittany told her mom you embarrass her. She doesn't want Mason's family knowing that someone in their family works with their hands." The words hit her like a punch to the gut. Brittany, the sister she had once called her hero, the girl she had helped through college, had never seen her as family. She had seen her as nothing more than a dirty secret, a mistake she had to hide from the world. The next morning, Sarah woke to a cold cup of coffee, the silence of her apartment pressing down on her like a weight. She scrolled through social media absent-mindedly until her eyes landed on a photo posted by Brittany. It was of her, smiling brightly, dressed in a red dress, standing hand in hand with Mason. The table behind them was perfect, the candles lit, the flowers fresh. The caption read, "A warm Thanksgiving with the ones who matter most." She wasn't in the photo. Not even a mention, not even a thought. The tears that had been threatening to fall finally came, hot and bitter. But they didn't last long. Her anger eclipsed everything else. She stared at the photo, then her phone buzzed again. Another text from Madison. "I think you need to hear this, even if it hurts. Brittany told everyone you shouldn't come because she doesn't want Mason's family to know she comes from a working class background." The words echoed in her mind, over and over again. She doesn't want Mason's family to know. But what was more shocking than anything else was the realization that Brittany wasn't just ashamed of her job. She was ashamed of her entire life. The sacrifices, the late nights, the missed vacations, everything Sarah had done for her, none of it mattered. None of it was enough. Sarah felt the knot in her chest loosen, replaced by something even more powerful. Clarity. She opened her laptop, staring at the tuition payment page for Brittany's education. The figure was familiar. $18,740, due in 2 weeks. It had always been there, a reminder of the sacrifices she had made to ensure her sister could have everything she never did. With a steady hand, she clicked on the button. Remove payment method. A warning popped up. "Are you sure you want to remove your payment method? This action cannot be undone." Without hesitation, she clicked confirm. A soft click echoed through the apartment. The payment method was gone, but it felt more like a door closing. A door that had been open far too long, letting everyone walk in and out of her life without ever truly seeing her. What would you do if you found out that the people you sacrificed everything for had never truly appreciated you? Can family really ever be called family when the bond is built on exploitation? Sarah's decision was only the beginning. What happens when she starts to take back her life? Will her family ever understand? Stay tuned to find out. The days after Sarah's decision felt like they passed in a blur of cold silences and empty phone calls. The first few hours were quiet, almost peaceful. For the first time in years, she didn't feel the heavy weight of obligation pushing down on her chest. But the silence soon grew suffocating. Brittany, as expected, tried to reach out. The first call came that evening, her voice a desperate, frantic mess on the other end. Sarah didn't pick up. It felt too soon to hear the pleading, the guilt-laden accusations. She had already made her decision. She couldn't go back. The next morning, another call, then a text, then another and another. She let them all slip by, like water off a duck's back. The messages bled into one another, filling her phone's inbox with the same hollow promises. "I'm sorry. Please don't do this. You know how much I need you." Sarah stood by her decision. She had spent far too many years being the family's ATM, their emotional punching bag. Brittany had never cared about her, only the benefits she could extract. All those years of paying tuition, of scraping by to ensure that her sister's life was filled with opportunities Sarah had never had. And this was the thanks she got: a lie, a betrayal. But then the twist came, the one she hadn't seen coming. It was Friday afternoon when Sarah found herself sitting at her desk, her hands moving mechanically across the paperwork for the new HVAC contract. She glanced at her phone, the screen flashing with an incoming call. It was from her mother. A rare call these days, but one she couldn't ignore. She hesitated, then picked up. "Sarah?" Her mother's voice was trembling, frail. "I need to talk to you." The pit in Sarah's stomach churned. She had expected this. Expected her mother to break down, to beg her to reconsider, to make her feel guilty for what she had done. But this was different. This wasn't the pleading she had anticipated. This was something deeper, more unsettling. "I don't know how to say this," her mother continued, her voice faltering. "But it's Brittany. She's in trouble." A lump formed in Sarah's throat. "What do you mean? What kind of trouble?" Her mother paused, a long silence stretching between them. "She's been lying to everyone, Sarah. She lied to Mason. She lied to me. She told Mason her parents were paying for her tuition all this time. She made it seem like you didn't even exist. And now Mason's leaving her." The words hit her like a punch in the gut. The world seemed to tilt on its axis. Sarah gripped the edge of her desk to steady herself, but the ground beneath her feet felt unsteady, unstable. Brittany, the sister she had sacrificed everything for, had not only lied to her, but to everyone she knew, to Mason, to their mother. And now it was all falling apart. "Why would she do that?" Sarah whispered, the words barely leaving her lips. "Why would she lie to him about me?" "I don't know," her mother's voice cracked. "But I'm worried, Sarah. Brittany's falling apart. She's in danger of losing everything. Her future, her relationship. She doesn't know how to fix it." Sarah's heart wrenched. She should have felt vindicated. She should have felt relief that Brittany was finally facing the consequences of her actions. But instead, there was only a hollow ache, the kind that seeped into your bones and left you cold and empty. "I can't fix it," Sarah said quietly, more to herself than to her mother. "She did this to herself." "Please," her mother begged, the desperation thick in her voice. "Sarah, you're all she has left. You have to help her." For a long moment, Sarah remained silent. She thought about everything she had done for Brittany, everything she had given up, and yet Brittany was still not satisfied. She was still ashamed of her, still willing to throw away the very person who had given her a future. "You don't get it, Mom," Sarah said, her voice hard now. "I've helped her more than anyone ever could. I've done everything for her, and it's never been enough. She doesn't respect me, she doesn't love me, and I'm done." But her mother wasn't finished. "I'm begging you, Sarah." Her voice was breaking now, and the weight of the years of guilt came crashing down on Sarah's chest. "I know you've sacrificed so much, but you're her sister. Don't you want to help her? Don't you want to fix this?" "I can't," Sarah said again, her words more final this time. "She has to fix this on her own. She has to learn that her actions have consequences." The call ended in silence. Sarah stared at the phone in her hand, her heart pounding in her chest. A part of her wanted to call Brittany, to reach out and fix everything, to be the sister she had always been. But another part of her, the part that had spent so many years being used, being ignored, couldn't bring herself to do it. For the next few days, Sarah didn't hear from anyone. The phone calls stopped, the texts faded away. It was as though she had been erased from their lives entirely. At first, it felt like a relief, a weight lifted off her shoulders. But as the silence stretched on, she began to question whether she had done the right thing. Was she being too harsh? Should she have been more understanding? More forgiving? Then, 3 days later, a message popped up on her phone. It was from Mason. "I need to talk to you," the message read. "I don't know what happened, but Brittany told me everything. She said you were the one who paid her tuition, and she made it sound like you were some kind of, well, like you were some kind of savior. I don't know what to believe anymore, Sarah. But I'm sorry. I think I need to hear your side of the story." Sarah's heart skipped a beat. She stared at the message for a long time, the words echoing in her mind. Brittany had told Mason everything. She had confessed, exposed the truth. But now, Mason was asking for Sarah's side. What did that mean? Did he truly care? Or was he just another person in her life who would eventually walk away? Before she could think too much about it, her phone buzzed again. This time, it was from her mother. Sarah, I know it's been hard, but Brittany, she's really sorry. She's been calling me, crying, saying that she didn't know what she was thinking. I think, I think she wants to fix this, but she needs you. Please, Sarah, don't turn your back on her now. Sarah's stomach twisted in knots. She couldn't help but feel a pang of doubt. Could Brittany truly change? Could she find a way to make things right after everything she had done? What would you do if the person who hurt you most came back begging for forgiveness? Could you ever truly forgive them? Sarah thought she had it all figured out, but now, as the past and the future collide, she's forced to confront an uncomfortable truth. Can she really walk away from everything and everyone she once thought she knew? The weeks that followed felt like a strange blur of emotions. Sarah's decision to cut ties with her family had been painful, but necessary. It had been a long time coming, a slow burn of resentment and betrayal finally erupting into something that couldn't be ignored any longer. But what came after the silence was something she wasn't prepared for. Mason's message had been a bombshell. For the first time, someone outside of her family had seen the situation for what it was. Someone had acknowledged the sacrifices she had made, the sacrifices Brittany had never appreciated. But what hurt even more was that it wasn't enough to change anything. Brittany's confession was followed by a tidal wave of guilt and regret, but Sarah couldn't simply erase years of hurt with a few words. She had paid a high price for her generosity, and in the end, she realized that it wasn't just her sister who had hurt her. It was the entire narrative of family itself that had kept her chained. One afternoon, Sarah sat in her office, her eyes scanning over contracts and client proposals, trying to focus on the work that had always been her escape. She had built her business into something substantial, something that gave her purpose. And yet, every so often, the nagging weight of her family's absence crept into her thoughts. She had spent so many years bending over backward to make others happy, to prove herself worthy of love and respect, but all it had earned her was exhaustion. Her phone buzzed. Another message from her mother. She had stopped answering her calls, her texts, after the last conversation. But this one was different. This message, unlike the others that had come before, held something unfamiliar. I don't know what happened to us, Sarah. I don't know. I've been thinking a lot about everything. You're right. You've done so much for us, and we never saw it. I've never seen it. I've been so caught up in my own guilt and pride. I couldn't see how hard you've worked, how hard you fought. I was wrong. I was wrong about so many things. Brittany, she was wrong too. Sarah's heart pounded as she read the message. She couldn't bring herself to respond. The words seemed like they were being sent from a stranger. The mother who had always leaned on her for everything, who had expected her to give without ever asking for anything in return, was suddenly speaking in a tone she didn't recognize. There was no apology in her words, only a vague recognition of wrongdoing, an attempt to repair something that had already been shattered. The phone buzzed again, this time with a text from Brittany. I messed up. I know I did. Please, Sarah, I don't know how to fix this. I don't know how to make it right. But I love you. I've always loved you. I didn't know how to be honest with you. I was scared of everything, of being judged, of you judging me. But I'm ready to face it. To face you. Please, give me a chance. The words felt like a lifeline, but at the same time they felt hollow. Sarah's hand hovered over her phone. She stared at the screen, the letters bleeding together as her thoughts swirled in a storm of confusion and pain. How could she ever trust these words after everything? How could she open herself up again, only to be disappointed once more? Her phone rang again. This time, it was Mason. I think you should talk to her. Mason's voice was steady, but there was a weight behind his words. I'm not asking you to forgive her. Hell, I'm not asking you to forgive me. But I think we both need to understand where we went wrong. Not just for us, but for you too. Sarah swallowed hard. The room felt smaller, her breath shallow. It wasn't just Brittany who needed to face her actions. It was everyone who had ever used her, everyone who had only ever cared about what she could give them. But here Mason was, reaching out to her, offering a bridge between her and her sister. Was she willing to cross it? She stared at the phone in her hand, her finger hovering over the screen. Everything inside her told her to just let it go, to shut the door once and for all and never look back. But another part of her, the part that had once believed in family, in love, in forgiveness, was telling her to open her heart just one more time. Could she forgive? Could she heal? That evening, she decided to meet Brittany. They sat across from each other in a small cafe on the outskirts of Seattle, the atmosphere around them thick with tension. Brittany looked different. Her eyes were swollen, her makeup smudged, the glamour of her previous life replaced by something raw, something vulnerable. "Thank you for meeting me," Brittany said quietly, her voice trembling. "I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't expect you to forget. But I need you to know that I was wrong. I treated you like nothing, and I know I can never make that right, but I can try. I can be better." Sarah stared at her, feeling the familiar pull of affection despite everything. But beneath that affection was a sharp, cold truth. Brittany wasn't sorry for the hurt she caused. She was sorry she got caught. She was sorry because the consequences were finally catching up to her. "I've spent my whole life making sure you had everything you needed," Sarah said, her voice quiet but firm. "I paid for your education, worked harder than anyone could ever imagine, and all you saw me as was a walking checkbook. You used me, Brittany, and now you're asking for forgiveness?" Brittany's face crumpled as tears fell, her hands clasping the table. "I was scared, Sarah. I thought I had to be perfect, that if I showed you who I really was, you'd leave me. I didn't want to lose you." "But you already did," Sarah whispered, her heart breaking. "You lost me the moment you decided I wasn't good enough. You lost me the moment you chose everyone else over me." They sat in silence for a long time. The weight of everything between them, the years of hurt and resentment, hung thick in the air. But in that silence, something shifted. It wasn't forgiveness. Not yet. But it was something else, something quieter, something that spoke of growth. "I'm sorry," Brittany finally said, her voice small but honest. "I don't expect you to forgive me, but I hope you can find peace." Sarah didn't respond immediately. She wasn't ready. The pain was too raw, too fresh. But for the first time in years, she felt a flicker of hope. Not for a perfect reconciliation, but for a future where she didn't have to sacrifice herself anymore. As they parted ways that evening, Sarah knew that things would never be the same. She wasn't sure where things would go from here, but one thing was clear. She had finally started to choose herself. She had let go of the false expectations, the guilt, and the never-ending cycle of giving without receiving. She was ready to build a life on her own terms. Do you believe in second chances, even after the deepest betrayals? Can we ever truly heal from the wounds caused by those we love? If this story resonated with you, comment 100 to show your support. Where are you watching from? Let us know in the comments. And don't forget to share this video with your friends. Thank you for being part of our journey on Life Stories.